All right, it says we are on. Well, I am on. Christina got called away today, so you just have little old me. Um, this is HLC Saturday Solutions number 99. Um, I am Chris Rue of HLC Bookkeeping and Office Services, and we come to you every Saturday just to talk about things um, that are happening maybe with our clients or questions they've asked. I better, I bet you other people have those same questions. So we thought we'd talk to you about these topics to get information out because not everybody has time to research stuff, and we try to keep it to 15, 20 minutes max because your time is valuable and I don't want to overstay my welcome. So, um, our contact information is office at yourhlc.com. Phone number 724-561-7460, and our website is hlcbookkeeping.com. All right, so the first thing we do is we recap last week. So, last week, our topics were we were a little bit theoretical in the sense, or philosophical, I should say. We talked about assets equal liabilities and equity on a balance sheet for your business. Well, what about your life? What does that translate to? And then we also talked about um, bonuses, and then we talked about payroll accounts and QuickBooks for the QuickBooks Quick Tips, and how all that should be working for you. So this week, as you know, the first Monday or first Saturday of every month, we talk about off the bookshelf because you should always be increasing your knowledge base. And our philosophy is to make a well rounded person, no pun intended on chubbiness, um, is you should be well rounded at home, at your work, and at your worship. So we're going to talk about one of my favorite books, and this is Rose's book of Bible charts, maps, and timelines. This is so fantastic. Every person who studies the Bible should have one. Um, it goes in such detail about pretty much every topic. So I've used it for years with my Sunday school classes. I'm going to be using it this year with our confirmation class because sometimes it just really helps for you to see layouts. And they have some big charts. Like, this is what the temple looked like in Moses' time. So when you're talking about all those things that made up the temple, it's nice to have a visual so that your students can see what you're talking about. Because a lot of times we have to realize everybody learns differently. Some people, as long as you're talking to them and telling them things, they have a very active imagination. They can pick it up, they see it in their head. Other people don't have that skill, and it is a skill. Some people need to see, they're a visual learner. That's how immediately it connects to them. So one of my biggest things of when I do teaching, I usually present the material in many different ways: verbally, visually, and then sometimes we'll even play a game because some people affiliate games better with learning. So you just have to learn what works best for your group. And it can be a group of adults studying a book, it can be a group of kids studying a book, it can be a seminar you're teaching. I always try to learn, especially if I'm going to a new place with a new audience. Whoever has invited me, I ask a lot of questions like, is this a participatory group of people, or do they just pretty much want to sit there and listen? Because that's two different styles of how I'm going to present my information. So that's what I wanted to talk about. And then also, this is just so good. Like, this is the 12 tribes of Israel, and it goes into detail about each tribe. Um, there's just so much information. And then, of course, this is Herod's temple. I mean, look at these color pictures. They're wonderful. They're so good at creating a information. And then they also talk about Christianity, cults, and religions. Because if your kids or you are out in the world, you're going to run into that, and you better learn how to recognize it. So that's just the book I really wanted to talk about. This is one of my favorite things on my bookshelf because I'm always looking at it. Always. All right. Now, the next thing I wanted to talk about is decision making. Because a lot of times decisions sometimes are very fast. You have to make a decision right then. Other decisions you can marinate on, think about it, come to the best conclusion. So, a lot of times, though, when you're in that fast decision making process, one of the things my dad always said was make your decision and make it right. Because you have to recognize sometimes you didn't think something all the way through because honestly, you just didn't have the time to. But now that things are coming to light, you make your decision work for that situation. Um, or quite honestly, you check it and say, you know what? I was wrong. You're right. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. Let's try this instead. It's about taking responsibility. If you're the decision maker, whether it's a good or bad decision, it was your responsibility and you need to take ownership of it and make it right. And quite honestly, when you're a manager like that, your people will respect you and listen when you make those decisions because you're not sloughing it off as, oh, well, you didn't give me all that information. Well, one, maybe they didn't have it. And two, guess what? You're the decision maker. You take responsibility for it. That's one of my biggest pet peeves. Like, we can't all be right 100% of the time, but we can take ownership of our decisions 100% of the time. And it's quite all right to say, you know what, that was the wrong decision. Other things have come to light which could have changed what my decision would be, but that's what it was at that time. So let's talk about how to make this right. Bring them in, engage your people in the process so that they take ownership then of what has to be done. Number 3. Okay, we all know October is budgeting season, and that's like my favorite thing. But I want to talk to people from a personal point of view because you should be doing this as well. Especially in this time, there's so much on the internet about how people are using credit cards just to get by. And sometimes you have to. That's just the way it is. But you better have a plan for when things get better or you get a better job or a second job. Where do those funds go? So one of the things I like to do is a debt pay down schedule. Dave Ramsey has the excellent debt snowball, which I use a lot. But I also sort of tweak it just because sometimes you have to also look at interest rates. What's going to make the biggest impact to your bottom line. Um, I do agree, pay the smallest ones off first, get it done, and then just roll that amount to the next one in line. But you have to take the time to put it on paper. Put your plan on paper because then, or Excel or wherever, but somewhere where you hold yourself accountable. I put it right on my calendar. By this date, that credit card should have been paid off. And if it's not, why? Because again, you have to take ownership for those decisions that you're making. But again, pay down debt. That's number 1. Don't, yes, you should have your $1,000 savings account. Yes, you should have an emergency fund. However, sometimes if your debt is a 38% interest rate, you got to get out from under that. Look at other options. You can look for a new credit card. You might be able to transfer a balance that they'll do 0% for a year. So it gives you room to breathe. But you have to take an active involvement in managing your money. And for married people, this is both of your decision because it's not fair that one spouse has to do all the decision making when it comes to money. You're both in this together. You both do it together. Um, the decision making. One can be in charge of paying the monthly bills, but the decision making should be together. You're a team. Get it done. Um, number 4, QuickBooks Quick Tip. This I wanted to talk about sort of in that line from a business expenses. There's a report that not a lot of people use. Um, and you go under reports, company and financial, expenses by vendor. And they have a summary or a detail. What that points out to you, especially if you're the owner and you're not as much in the day to day, it's a quick report that you can see who you're paying and how much you've paid for a period of time. Because as an owner, you should be aware, hey, we have a cleaning service, I should see that. Hey, we have our internet, I should see that. But if you start to see vendors you don't know, one, has your accounts payable department issue them a W-9 for end of year 1099s if needed? Uh, Two, who authorized that vendor to come into my business? Because just because someone says, hey, you got to pay so and so, what's your approval for that? Because you should be doing an unpaid bills detail to the decision maker so they see who you're paying before it gets paid. Sometimes that can be cumbersome if you're a big company, but you've got to get a second set of eyes on that because there's so many companies out there. It's horrible. They will send a letter and like say it's John Smith and Company. Okay, you've dealt with John and Smith Company LLC for years. So you didn't even notice this just said John Smith and Company because it could be a fake vendor or they changed their name. But you need to find out. You need to make sure. Or it could be a new vendor that's legit, but that's just a little too close. So you want to double check it. You have to be curious, people, about your business, the decisions that are being made, the money that's being made. Is it right to do this at this time? So that's it. I just want to talk about actively taking a role in your future when it comes to money because money is a tool and you have to learn how to use it effectively personally and in the business world. So that's all I had to say today. Our email, of course, is office@yourhlc.com. Our phone number 724-561-7460, and our website hlcbookkeeping.com. So if you have any questions or any topics you want to talk about, or if you're like, you know what, I need to see this in my books, how do I do that? How do I make a new chart of accounts? That's has sub things that become more meaningful to me because again, as an owner, you're in your business every day. Your financials should talk to you. You should be able to see them, know what's happening right away. um so that's it. So the next week we'll talk uh again. um Now we have a virtual conference next week. So I'm not sure timing wise when the breaks are. So we might be a little later, a little earlier. I'm not sure on that. So we'll try to let you know as soon as we get the schedule. And then the week after that, um, we're doing a whole bunch of family stuff. So I'm not sure where we'll be doing our uh, Saturday solutions from. So, but it's so nice out, people. Enjoy this lovely weather while we still have it. Although I'm a snow person, I love the snow. So I'm looking forward to that. I know, don't hate me. Okay, Well, thank you so much for your time and attention, and I wish you all a blessed weekend. Thank you.